So much talk about the Dallas Cowboys, right? But there's a bigger story going on with the Dallas Cowboys, or at least the organization. And here to break down this year's Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders rookie class.
Oh,
Rookie class, because they had their auditions in training camp this week, guys. And the 2024 squad is set. 36 cheerleaders, 12 of them are rookies. So, I mean, they're not going to go to the Super Bowl, but maybe one girl will represent the Cowboys at the Pro Bowl, right?
Yeah.
Or at the Super Bowl. So at least they'll get some representation there.
Right.
So Kevin Ray joins us, the radio voice of the Cowboys. Who's your preseason favorite right now to represent the Cowboys cheerleaders for the 2024 season there, Kevin?
I'm sorry, I'm thrown off by a voice that's kind of familiar.
It's getting old. It's getting old. Come on.
I don't blame you, Ray. I don't blame you.
It never gets old, baby. It never gets old.
All right, then tell me. I mean, I'm looking at the squad, 36 cheerleaders. I know that makes your broadcast. That'll be something you'll talk in the preseason game. But 12 rookies, it's going to be tough to pick one of those to be, a representative of the Cowboys at the end of the year.
How do you keep track?
Yeah, I mean, still putting together the depth chart. A lot of vetting processes that got to take place.
Hey, I mean, what year will this be for you, calling games for them?
This will be year number 12, my friend.
Wow.
And
you still don't have a ring. So
time does indeed fly.
Oh, you had to throw the no ring in there.
You didn't hear that.
Yeah.
You let that one go by.
Yeah. Yeah. Still no ring.
We just had a debate. When can we just take off the label America's team? I mean, don't you need to win championships and be relevant every single year to get that moniker?
Well, I mean, look, let's be honest. That was a moniker, a label, a slogan, if you will, that was put on decades ago. And you guys know as well as I do that it became such a marketable, slogan and logo to build around. And what does Jerry Jones do better than certainly in the last 25, 30 years, win championships? That is market. Nobody can market his game, his team better than Jerry Jones. And, it creates conversations just like this, and it has and will continue to create conversations just like this because they got the label and they're not giving it up.
And I got to tell you, Kevin, you either love them or hate them. And I sometimes wonder if that's by design. We were talking earlier about the latest CeeDee Lamb being the holdout. The last 3 weeks prior to Dak Prescott, will he get paid? Oh, by the way, there's this guy named Micah Parsons that's all there. It all seems so orchestrated sometimes. And to your point, the marketing genius of Jerry Jones, not that we're conspiracy theorists around here.
Well, yeah. As it relates to those three guys, though, trust me, none of that was staged. He would love nothing more than to have those guys under contract. But timing is everything, and unfortunately, the timing of all three of these deals kind of coming to a head at once, and it is, it's the price of. And I know people will snicker when I say success, but it's the price of success for the Cowboys. They have been good. They've won division titles. They've gone to the playoffs. And with the Cowboys, just the star alone, guys, whether you like them or not, suggests success.
Yeah.
But because of that, when you've got individuals like those three you mentioned playing at such high levels, it's time to pay up. And the way that the salary cap is structured, it's not easily done when they all three, are looking to hit the jackpot on the same weekend.
Well, on top of that, the rumors or that's out there, the cloud hanging over Mike McCarthy. On top of that, that win or not, that kind of hangs over this team. But when you look at this team overall, and I think what frustrates Cowboy fans, Kevin, I'm sure you hear us all the time, is to have all that talent and they're going nowhere fast. Is this a team this year that hopefully can break through and get deeper and maybe make that NFC run, so to speak?
Well, look, I know, and it's not the first time that Jerry Jones has been his own worst enemy with words spoken, but, just by virtue of him saying, 4 or 5 months ago, we're all in. Well, that became obviously a soundtrack that has been played over and over and over again, because there have been no moves by the organization that would suggest all in. And I would say that, privately, if he had a chance to get a redo, that particular quote would love to be retracted, because the reality is the money situation that they were in was not going to allow them to be all in. Now, they can still be all in by somehow magically getting all three of these deals done before the season starts, or at the very least early into the season. But this is still a very good football team. There's still a lot of talent on this team. I mean, you talk about CeeDee Lamb. You look at what he did last year. I mean, set a franchise record with receptions, 135. That was 6th in the league. Almost 1,800 yards receiving, 14 touchdowns. This guy has been a playmaking machine, and Dak had one of his best seasons. Led league in completions at 410. 6 touchdown passes. But as you guys know, it's not just a matter of winning, it's winning at the key time. And that's the one thing that this team hasn't done. And that falls on the shoulders of Dak Prescott. It falls on the shoulders of Micah Parsons, but it certainly falls squarely on the shoulders of Mike McCarthy, who came in with the credentials, had the Super Bowl championship. And this is a make or break year for Mike McCarthy and this team because of the money that you're talking about potentially being paid to all three of these guys.
Kevin Ray is our guest on the Right Toyota guest line. All right, so let me just go back to what you were just discussing, and that is they could be really, really good if they get all these guys signed. But yet, Kevin, when you go back to the playoff game against Green Bay, what happened there? Well, Green Bay lit up that defense. So my question is, where are they defensively?
Well, you got to remember they've got a new defensive coordinator with Dan Quinn having departed for Washington, and Mike Zimmer, an old familiar face, part of the old guard in the NFL. You're going to see I don't want to see a dramatic change defensively, but you're going to see schematically a change defensively. The one thing that Dan Quinn did, and yes, they generated a lot of turnovers, but the one thing that this team proved, even in generating the turnovers and having the big plays, is they were susceptible. They were susceptible to, physicality up the middle. And that is because they were typically playing strong safeties, kind of, in that hybrid linebacker position. So with Mike Zimmer, you're going to see them play a more kind of, physical, stylistic defense with bigger, stronger linebackers, and they're going to try to find, some better anchoring right up the middle. So you start with that. I think you're going to see a little more physical defense. You're not, it's not like you're losing a ton of guys on that defensive side of the football. You still got Micah Parsons. You still got Trayvon Diggs back there. This is still a very good defense. You've got Marcus Lawrence off of the edge. So I still think that this defense will be very good. I look for them to be even more physical than what they were under Dan Quinn. And even in getting lit up in some of those rundown situations, they were still a pretty physical team.
So, Kevin, with all this going on around this team, what is the mantra that you've heard with the Cowboys camp? Just 2-3 days into their camp, with all this, I call it noise above them or going around them. Where's their main focus going to be for Mike McCarthy and this team this year, or I should say, this training camp?
Yeah, I think the one thing, we see and hear the noise, and not to suggest that they don't, but this is, for the most part, a pretty veteran-laden team. They know the minute that they slip on that helmet, they slip on that jersey, the additional noise that comes as a result. Dak has proven time and time again, his ability to tune out all of that external noise. Same thing even over the last couple of years with Micah Parsons. So this is a team that goes in. They know full well what all the headlines are, what all the talk shows are talking about with this team. For them, it is really about, tightening things up and becoming the team that they know they can be when it matters most. And, look, that comes down to execution for both players and coaches. And only time will tell, because another 12 or 13 win regular season, I guarantee you, will not make people, sit back and be quiet. It is going to take 2 or 3 playoff wins for people to really, truly sit up on the edge of their seat and believe this team has a viable shot at winning a championship.
So, Kevin, as you start prepping for the upcoming season, so you know what's going on the sideline, just Abby Summers, she's a graduate of Ohio State. She's pretty good. And then Sophia Brown, she was with the Nuggets. She was a cheerleader at the Nuggets. So those are 2 of the rookies to look for this season.
Yeah, prep going on there, K-Ray.
Okay. I will. It's good to know. I always like adding, additional notes to my scouting report. Hold on. Let me type that in here on page 5, Abby. And okay. Got it.
Sophia.
Got it.
Yep. Good. I'm always here. You've been a mentor of mine since we started this business 20, 30 years ago. So I'm just returning the favor.
We're here for you, K-Ray. We're here for you, man.
I appreciate the love in all form and fashion, boys.
K-Ray, we love you, man. Thanks for the time. We appreciate you. Thank you.
You got it, boys. Be good. Take care.
Kevin Ray, of course, we all know him, the Phoenix Suns, but also during the football season, the radio play-by-play man for the Dallas Cowboys on Compass Network.
They go into town, it's going to be invaded by Cowboy fans, whatever town they go into.
Yeah.
Netflix did the quarterback last year that I just got to watch the receiver. They should just do it the Cowboys. I mean, it just the Cowboys between Jerry Jones and his son and Mike McCarthy and all the minutia that surrounds this team. I mean, you could get, what was it, 8-piece series, I think it was, that they do. And people would tune in, whether you hate him or not. You want to see did you guys behind his madness of being Jerry Jones?
Well, did you guys watch the Netflix America's Sweethearts, Dallas Cowboys? America's Sweethearts, America's Team.
Yeah,
your wife won't let you watch that 7-part documentary?
I didn't know it was on. No.
Oh, right.
Is it on?
I can tell you this. The Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders in the 80s and 90s had television shows, had TV shows. They were on the Love Boat.
I remember that.
Yeah. They were on all kinds of different shows. When you ask about how did it happen, how they became America's team, that was all part of how they became America's team.
You mentioned, Jerry Jones and the marketing machine he is.
Yeah.
Truly, it is.
Oh, yes.
It is. They're relevant. They are the top story, if not Aaron Rodgers, on all the talk shows to get, about football. I mean, even to the point where, it's aggravating, right? You're just like, stop with the Cowboy talk, right? I mean, we're done with it.
Aren't they worth like $8.2 billion now? They're the most, storied franchise because of the value. And I remember when you were talking about the cheerleaders, when they first came out in the early 70s, mid-70s with the cheerleaders, everybody followed. So all the other teams, except for Green Bay, I think Chicago, even they followed.
They did.
Everybody started to do that whole cheerleader thing. Now, you go way back. You look at the old AFC with the Bills and Chiefs, they had the cheerleaders, but not like they did the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders.
So we were discussing earlier this hour about the Rose Bowl, and the Rose Bowl saying it's imperative that they keep the January 1 date. They would like to be the host of a quarterfinal every year, even though, they're supposed to get a semifinal and they could actually get a championship as well. That conversation was a pretty good conversation. Would you say we had some fun with it?
Yeah.
So Jax posted on our Twitter account at Rock Manuch, huge picture of the Rose Bowl, and it says, "Is the Rose Bowl overrated?" Is that what you guys took away from? Is that what you took away from that conversation?
No. That's what I thought. I
never said they're overrated. I just said they just got their nose up in the air.
You see, people are going to click on that. When they click on it, We get a view.
Well, my contention was they thought they were all that and then some. It's like the tail wagging the dog. They're trying to dictate to the committee. I mean, overrated. They're probably they are the bowl out there. I don't think it's ever overrated because it's the
Why
Rose
are they the bowl? Why?
I think when you say bowl game, first thing I think of is
Rose
growing
Bowl.
up here, Rose
Yeah.
Bowl, then Fiesta Bowl because I grew up here. But
See, I don't know why Fiesta Bowl would be first for somebody that grew up here. And you loved Frank Cush. You knew Frank
Sure.
Cush personally.
Danny White,
and,
JD,
and he was instrumental in creating the bowl
because
system.
before all that was the bowl game we looked to watch before the Fiesta Bowl was the Rose Bowl every January 1st.
It's always on before.
It's always,
it was
on before, and this
because things have changed.
yeah,
now.
71 was the first Fiesta Bowl when that started. I mean, from there, and those guys are usually at night. The first few were night games. Might have been on a week before. And you got to remember, the Fiesta Bowl didn't transition to a New Year's Day game for many years. Finally got to the New Year's Day game, which was great. But, I mean, it was Rose Bowl, Cotton Bowl.
So
it was
you
the morning
had
game.
Basically, you had the Rose Bowl, the Orange Bowl in Miami at night,
And the Cotton Bowl in the morning.
and then the Sugar Bowl in New Orleans at night.
Yeah.
all
That
because
was
of the
it.
time zones.
That's
Yes.
correct.
It's everything
Yes.
to do with it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I used to love that. I mean, I know everybody loves the playoff, but
appointment
the
bowl
bowl
games.
system, the way it was, I thought was cool. The AP, I was fine with it.
Yeah, it was. And in that Orange Bowl topped it all off.
Hey, Kevin Ray is brought to you today by El Bandino Yankee Tequila. This is the official tequila of Rocket Manucci with Jimmy B. Experience it for yourself. Ask for it at your favorite watering hole and break out the Bandino. Well, we need a contestant to challenge one of our beautiful Twin Peaks girls from our Deer Valley locations, where we are today. The phone number is 602-260-9191, 602-260-9191. Now that the Olympics are the theme, these are the three games you have to pick. Australia versus Spain in men's basketball, women's water polo, Netherlands versus Hungary, and my favorite, Slovenia and Denmark in women's handball.
Can't wait for that.
Women's handball.
Yeah.
Think about that. This was a rock station and a morning zoo. We